Okay, this is Chris from Acting Out, and what I've got here is I've got a water bladder. Came with his FL, this hydration pack, and what I've got here is my kids have been using it and stuff. You can see this trace right here of whatever it was leaning up against, but I've got a leak right in this area. I'm trying to figure out how to get it fixed. And one idea that I'm going to experiment with here is this stuff here. Got it off Amazon. It's called Gear Aid Tenacious Tape. It's a waterproof tape. It is pretty tenacious. It sticks pretty well to things. So I'm going to be going fishing and stuff tomorrow. So I'm going to try to repair this with this tape, see how it works. I'll do a first initial test, just putting it on here and getting it all on there good, and then it sticks to fabric really well. So we'll see how it does with this, clean everything up. But we'll put this on, we'll do a test initially with it, and then we're going to go out for a day with it tomorrow, and assuming it's not leaking, we'll see how it goes. We'll update you with it later. So this is a product review on Gear Aid Tenacious Tape, and to see how it works on a hydration bladder. So we'll let you know. So one thing to note of the tenacious tape is that it does not stick to itself. It's got a backing on right there. You can see a line, just a light line right there where you help peel it off. But one tip in using this is, again, it doesn't stick to itself. It unrolls pretty easy. Sorry, I just got an extra piece here that I took the backing off of. I used that to hold it on. So it's going to drive you nuts if you don't have something on there. So anyway, cut a square piece off, we'll take the backing off, we'll make sure this is all really clean and everything, and we'll be sticking that on there. Okay, so far this stuff is sticking super well. Be sure you get it on a hard surface and work it into those grooves and everything, wherever you just don't want any, you want to avoid as many bubbles as you can. This stuff is flexible as well, so it can work into grooves and whatnot. And one thing that amazes me about this stuff is just with what I've used it in, is that this has got amazing sticking power. So I'll be testing it with water here in just a minute, but the only thing I've seen that's like a tape type stuff that's got better sticking power than what I've seen this is the glue that's used on skins for backcountry skiing. There's a glue that they put on that, and that stuff's got some amazing sticking power. I almost took some scrap of that I had of the glue for the backcountry skiing to stick your skins on. I almost put that on there. I couldn't find any right off, but this sticks pretty well. So I'm gonna put some water in and see how it goes. Okay, my initial test here that I did, I filled up with 2 liters of water. I don't know if you can see this little pointer here, kind of. There's a hole right there. And you can see a little bit of air bubbles in there. That's why I said you really got to get them cleaned off. But if you can see this right here, where that coal comes from, there's that groove that comes down like this. There's not any leaking in here, which is good. But where that groove comes down, it's jumping that groove. And the only place, when I put pressure on it, the only place it was leaking is about that spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece of tape, and we're going to kind of fill more of this area here to get around past that groove to where I can get a total flat surface all the way around on that, and see if that keeps it sealed. Because like I said, the only place with pressure on this around, there's another hole right here and it's not leaking at all. But there's a small one here that kind of comes down through. So we'll do that and see how that works. Okay, here's our test number 2. We'll put 2 liters of water in it. There's the bag. Get out my thing here that I'm showing you with. So with this stuff, like I said, it's pretty flexible. You can kind of press it in there, but this is the seam right here where the water was leaking out of that pinhole. So I patched it clear down to here where there was a flat surface through here around it. So now put some pretty hefty pressure on there, and I don't see any leaks. I mean, one of the other things I did too is along this seam right here between the two, using, see, this is kind of the pointy stuff, really push it in that groove. But there's putting some pretty good pressure on there. There's no leaking. So we'll take this out for a test tomorrow and let you know, but it looks good so far. Okay, we're back. We went on the fishing trip, and we've been testing out this testing out the bladder with the tape on it. So I'm going to pull this out here, and we're going to see how it went. Now, the first thing I can tell you for sure is that if it was leaking, we would have the bottom would be wet. This looking a little bit wet here on the bottom. That's from when I found out that it was leaking. And so we're going to go ahead and pull this out of here and look and see what the condition is. I can see if that tape has held. So I wanted to do this with you live here. We actually ended up doing quite a bit of fishing. We were planning on coming back, getting done and coming back at about, heading back at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We ended up leaving at that time. So it looks like actually in a different spot, we've got a little, this is just leaking from the top right here. As you can see, that seal may be going bad. Sometimes they do that. The main question we have over here is whether or not this tape is leaking. So it looks like it might be lifting a little bit on the side there. But the main thing, again, we're looking at is whether or not it leaked on the backpacking trip. So putting pressure on there with the water, and I am not seeing any, making sure the water, this right here, these lines are not water. I don't know if you can see that in there. There's just kind of a little bit of wear on the thing, on the rubber, the plastic. So I'm just putting a lot of pressure on here, pushing the water into that spot, putting a lot of pressure on here to see if I can get that to leak, and we're not leaking. So that that Gear Aid tape, one thing that I am noticing around the edges a little bit here, around the outside edges a little bit here, it does seem to have lifted a little bit, but it's, in terms of leaking, it is not leaked. So for trips, periodically, it does seem to be sticking back down a little bit more. I do know that you have to, I had to clean this with some mild soap and water to get that to work well there, but to get it to stick well. But it's lifting a little bit around these edges, around the outside edges of the tape there. I don't know if you can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit here. There we go. So this stuff right here is not leaking, but you can see a little bit around the outside edge here. It's kind of started to lift a little bit, but where the hole is and everything, we're solid and we're not leaking. So Gear Aid tape, that seems to work pretty well with sealing those leaks. It's worked here as well as there. I don't have any leaks coming from that. And again, just be aware that you might have to replace that tape occasionally, but it does seal. So it worked really well. We actually did the trip on I put this tape on a Friday, and it's now Monday evening, and so it's held still really good for last couple days here. So you'll have to watch that. You might have to replace the tape occasionally, but if you're in a pinch for fix for one of these things and you need some seal, I think that Gear Aid tape is some really good stuff to carry with you for repairs of equipment like this. So hope you like it. Please thumbs up and subscribe, and come back for more videos.